Tisha Bader with Shalom TV's news update. Israel marked its annual Memorial Day today of fallen soldiers and victims of terrorism. The memory of the nation's 22,993 fallen soldiers and victims of terror was observed with a 2-minute siren which sounded nationwide at 11 o'clock this morning, after which Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed bereaved families and dignitaries at Mount Herzl in Jerusalem, saying, quote, "I know that thanks to those who have died, we live." Defense Minister Ehud Barak also spoke, saying, quote, "Our enemies near and far have not accepted our existence, but they are facing a state that is stronger than ever, a state that would protect its sovereignty in any situation," adding, quote, "Let us hope for a day when soldiers are no longer sent to the battlefield." Israel's President Shimon Peres, who spoke to bereaved families at a ceremony at the Western Wall in Jerusalem last night, said, quote, "Your beloved ones had a crucial part in the achievements of the state. We shall forever remain indebted to your children." Further saying, quote, "No act or gesture on our part can relieve your pain and the memories that will not vanish." Eva Sandler, whose husband and 2 young sons were killed in the Toulouse shooting earlier this year, lit a memorial flame at a ceremony at the Jewish Agency in Jerusalem, honoring terror victims worldwide. Chairman of the Jewish Agency, Natan Sharansky, spoke at the ceremony, saying, quote, "When enemies attack a Jewish center in Buenos Aires or a Jewish school in Toulouse, it is also our war." Remembrance services will culminate with a torch lighting ceremony on Mount Herzl at 8 o'clock tonight, marking the transition from Memorial Day to Yom HaAtzmaut, or Israel Independence Day. In a message to the diaspora for Israel's 64th Independence Day, Prime Minister Netanyahu thanked the, quote, "tens of millions of friends of Israel throughout the world for their unwavering support for the one and only Jewish state." Further saying, quote, "This passionate support, along with Israel's strong army, free economy, and dynamic society, is the pillar of our national strength." In a pre-Independence Day interview with the Jerusalem Post, Israel's President Shimon Peres says Israel has never faced a better opportunity to reach a peace deal with the Palestinians than it has today under the leadership of PA President Mahmoud Abbas, saying, quote, "I think the Palestinian window is still open." Peres went on to say everybody makes mistakes in his sayings and doings, but President Abbas is constant in his announced position for peace, against terror, and for a 2-state solution. Peres continued to say, quote, "I think we have never had a wider basis to conclude peace than under his leadership." In a CNN interview yesterday with Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's Prime Minister expressed his desires for peace to Outfront's Aaron Burnett, saying, quote, "I don't want to govern the Palestinians. I don't want them as subjects of Israel or as citizens of Israel. I want them to have their own independent state, but a demilitarized state." As far as the peace process, Netanyahu said, quote, "I think that I could deliver a peace agreement. I could get the Israeli people to follow me if I believe that I have a serious partner on the other side willing to make the necessary compromises on the Palestinian side." According to the official Palestinian Authority news agency Wafa, Palestinian Authority President Abbas's spokesman Nabil Abu Radene responded to the interview today, criticizing Netanyahu, saying that the desire to achieve peace is not enough and must be coupled with actions, including, quote, "an immediate and complete halt of all settlement activities, dismantling of all settlements, and the recognition of the 2-state solution based on the 1967 borders and the resolutions of the international legitimacy." The United States has expressed concern after the recent legalization by the Israeli government of 3 outposts in the West Bank. U.S. State Department spokeswoman Victoria Nuland told reporters, quote, "We are obviously concerned by the reports that we have seen. We have raised this with the Israeli government," adding, quote, "We don't think this is helpful to the peace process and we don't accept the legitimacy of continued settlement activity." UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said he was, quote, "troubled and disappointed by the approval of the outposts," saying such activity is illegal under Israeli law. The Palestinian Authority already condemned the decision, as well as Jordan, France, and the European Union. Israel has argued that the legalization does not impact its obligations to the international community because it approved the outposts over a decade ago, but the decision was never executed. Nearly 9,000 people have already signed an online petition urging the International Olympics Committee to observe 1 minute of silence in memory of the 11 Israeli athletes murdered at the 1972 Munich Olympics at the upcoming Games to be held in London this summer, which will mark 40 years since the terrorist attack. The petition was set up by Anki Spitzer, widow of one of the murdered athletes, fencing coach Andre Spitzer. Israel's Deputy Foreign Minister Dani Ayalon met with Spitzer and Ilana Romano, widow of murdered weightlifter Yosef Romano, to sign the petition and give them a copy of a letter he wrote to the committee as well. Spitzer makes a special point to acknowledge the help of the JCC of Rockland County, New York, who helped get the petition going, and has dedicated their Maccabia games this summer to the Munich 11. Speaking to Shalom TV, CEO of the Rockland JCC, David Kirstel, said the response to the petition has been, quote, unbelievable. Kirstel says, quote, here we are bringing up an issue that is 40 years old, yet people all over the world are expressing how they feel. And they are outraged that the Olympics have never acknowledged these athletes who came to participate in a sporting event and went home in coffins. The Jewish Federations of North America and the JCC Association are asking communities to support the petition, with JCC Association President and CEO Alan Finkelstein saying, quote, let us finally get the Munich 11 the acknowledgement and respect they deserve. The petition can be accessed at munich11.org. And that's Shalom TV's news update. I'm Tisha Bader.